This is heartbreaking as the Edmonton Oilers are on the cusp of yet another Stanley Cup final appearance, but they will do without a cornerstone of their offense. All that more today on Oilers Digest. A very bittersweet video today. I mean, it was a big game last night, a big win last night, but a big loss on the ice. But we will cover that today on Oilers Digest. But first, 83% of you have not yet subscribed to the channel for any and all Oiler content. This is the place to be, so hit that button down below for your Oiler news. But without further ado, folks, let's get right into it, shall we? Getting closer to the top of the mountain. Yes, the Oilers up 2-1 heading into last night's game with the possibility to put Dallas on the verge of elimination, and that they did as the Edmonton Oilers take this one by a score of 4-1, and they now lead the series 3-1 with the opportunity to clinch a Stanley Cup playoff or Stanley Cup final appearance tomorrow night at the American Airlines Center. We'll take a look at the scoring summary here. It was a power play fest last night in Edmonton. There, Leon Draisaitl from his office, from Nugent-Hopkins, continuing his tear during this series here at 11 minutes and 23 seconds into the first period. And then Jason Robertson on a Stars power play. There is a mad scramble in front of Stuart Skinner, and Jason Robertson picks a corner clean there to make it 1-1, but Corey Perry backdoor from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Connor McDavid, making it 2-1 Oilers, and that would be all she wrote after two empty net goals from Kasperi Kapanen and Adam Henrique there, making it 4-1 Oilers, and making the series 3-1 there. You can see the 3 stars of the game. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Corey Perry there, the two old men of the team with the first and third stars of the game, but the real superhero last night, keeping the Dallas Stars out of the score sheets only let them on the score sheet once, but Stuart Skinner putting up a 966 there and continuing his dominance over the Dallas Stars, not just this conference final, but also last year as well there with 28 saves. But, Stuart Skinner isn't taking all the credit. He gives, most of the credit to the team in front of him. Said, I was feeling good. They definitely brought it early on. They were bringing it the whole game again, and how we all played as a team was fantastic. It shows a lot of courage in the way that our guys are blocking shots, and for me, it definitely felt good out there. I'm just trying to give my team the best chance possible every night, and they're going to get their chances. They're a fantastic team, and how we respond to that has been excellent there. You can see there over the last 3 games, 88 shots on Stuart Skinner in 86 saves, so you can say number 74, that man, the mustache man, is completely dialed in there, and that is bad news for the rest of the other 3 teams remaining in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You can see they're putting up a 9-10 in these playoffs there the past 5 or so games, even going back to the Vegas series, the middle of the Vegas series when it came back in lieu of Calvin Picker there. He's just been dialed in there. You can see a 966, a 971, 2 shutouts in that span there. So Stuart Skinner continuing his reign over, many of the other goalies in the NHL. I said it once and I'll say it again. I mean, Stuart Skinner, the hate for him, the appreciation from him has to be as loud as that there. And he's proved me and many others wrong. We absolutely love to see it, Stu. Keep continuing that crease dominance there. And like I mentioned, Stuart Skinner holding the Dallas Stars out of the score sheet in the first period when the Dallas Stars were all over the Oilers in that one. Shots 16-10 and 39 shot attempts for Dallas in that first period there. But I mean, Edmonton continuing to hold down the fort there in the final 40 minutes. They sort of try to figure out their opponent for the first 20 and then adjust and play their game the rest of the way there. You can see scoring chances against the Oilers, only giving up 4 scoring chances and, as many shots in the third period. They're outshooting the Stars 13-4 in that span there. So the Oilers, everyone was criticizing them, saying they can't play defense, but the Edmonton Oilers, they are, again, just locking it down and locking in. That is the whole tagline of the Oilers this year. When the going gets tough, they are going to lock in there. As I mentioned, the shots on goal, Dallas 16 in the first period there, but the Oilers not allowing double-digit shots in the second or third there, just, holding down the fort once again there. And Leon Draisaitl, he mentioned that, Dallas came at Edmonton in waves during, the entire series, but says, there are going to be some swings in the series. They're one of the last 4 teams standing, so they're going to have their push, and there's going to be periods where they control the play. That's just the way it is, but I think we managed it really well. Stu has been incredible when we needed him to be, and our third period was really well played. And like I said, only 4 shots given up during the third period when Dallas, that was a make or break period for their entire season. I mean, going back down to Texas, down 3-1. It does not bode very well for them there. Shots on goal 33-29 in favor of the Oilers, out hitting the Dallas Stars by a very wide margin there. 26 with was the difference between these two teams. 50-24. Dallas took the faceoffs 30-19, but the power plays were the main difference there. Edmonton going 2 for 3 on their 3 power plays, and then Dallas only getting 1 out of there for the officiating. Again, very, very questionable last night, but you know what, you make do with his poor reffing. You just got to play around it. And then the block shots 16-12 in favor of the Edmonton Oilers. So the Oilers getting in the way of those shot lanes, something that Stuart Skinner has been very appreciative of. And then just taking a look at the hockey stat chart here, I mean, there's some players that the chart did not like last night, but I mean, everyone was noticeable in their own way there. It was sort of a bend not break type of defense for this Oiler team, and just getting in the minds, in the heads of the Dallas Stars, frustrating them. They did that to perfection last night in Edmonton there. And I mean, just multiple players getting multiple points on the score sheet there. Corey Perry, the Worm, 40 years old, still doing his thing in the playoffs. There was a stat showing he played something like 230 playoff games since the year of 2000. I mean, he came into the league in 2005, and that was more than franchises than like Tampa Bay, Boston, Pittsburgh, so on and so forth. So Corey Perry has he's done his time in the spring there, playing some very meaningful hockey. Nugent-Hopkins continuing his tear in the series. The captain, Connor McDavid, and Leon Draisaitl taking over when it matters there. And then you have some guys, the depth scoring showing up once again, even if it was empty netters. I mean, Kasperi Kapanen, Adam Henrique, and then Jake Walman and Brett Kulak getting on the score sheet there. And I could, name so many other players that weren't on the score sheet last night, didn't record a point, but I mean, just holding in there and keeping the Dallas Stars to the perimeter there. But Leon Draisaitl, he's got his sights set on Dallas, as we just won a big game at home, and we're going to Dallas to have the chance to move on to the Stanley Cup Finals. If that doesn't get you excited, I'm not sure what will, but that's going to be the toughest game of the series. We know, because we've been in that situation, so get ready for it. We know there are certain areas we can clean up and be better at, but overall, we're playing a pretty good game right now. And the Edmonton Oilers, unfortunately, will have to go to Dallas without one of their top forwards in Zach Hyman. Yes, unfortunately, Zach Hyman suffered an injury last night, and we will not see him for the rest of the spring. With Zachary, my beloved number 18, out hitting everybody in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He had something like 114 hits, 26 more hits than the guy in second place during the Stanley Cup playoffs. So he hit everything in sight, and the Edmonton Oilers will be missing that with Zach Hyman, as the Oilers in Stars Game 5 tomorrow night, Thursday, May 29th at the American Airlines Center, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain on Hockey Night in Canada. And last night we all saw what happened to Zach Hyman, or if you didn't see, sort of a screen grab there of what happened. Very awkward collision there with Mason Marchment of the Dallas Stars. It's always, the most innocent looking hits that turn out to be the most dangerous there. Zach Hyman immediately dropped his stick and went off in a hurry. I mean, he only played about 3 minutes and 11 seconds last night, so we barely saw Zach Hyman last night. But after the first intermission, it was ruled out. He was ruled out, and we wouldn't see him for the rest of the game. And there was no update until today from Kris Knoblauch via Elliot Friedman. Edmonton coach Kris Knoblauch says Zach Hyman is getting surgery today and is likely out for the season. I mean, that is just, devastating news for the Oiler front, but at the same time, it's a next man up sort of situation in Edmonton. I mean, lots of questions regarding the lineup there, but I mean, Zach Hyman, that is, you can't replace a guy like him. I mean, the hard-nosed player that he is, getting into the dirty areas in front of the goaltender. I mean, we've seen it time and time again with all the goalie interference calls that have been called against him, and, coaches' challenges. But Zach Hyman, like I mentioned, more than 100 hits during the Stanley Cup playoffs. We've seen him net front on the power play, and he's just got those intangibles that you just can't teach. That is just what happens to a player naturally. So just, again, devastating news, but the Oilers do have the proper depth here. They're still without Connor Brown for Game 5, confirmed by Kris Knoblauch. Who knows what's happening with Mattias Ekholm, so the Oilers could go, many ways with this. Bringing in a guy like Jeff Skinner, or running 11-7 and bringing in Mattias Ekholm, and just, accounting for the loss of no Zach Hyman there. So lots of questions, but again, just nothing but devastating news. I saw that tweet this morning and all of the surrounding info, and it's just like, oh, what do we do? But the Oilers, time and time again, they proved that, they can move on and move forward. But Zach Hyman will forever be in our hearts there. And Corey Perry acknowledges that, with Zach Hyman, the kind of guy that he is, you got to be aware who's on the bench or who's up on the bench. You get into the game and you're focused on your next shift, and you never know if you're going to be up with somebody else. But I thought we did a good job. Obviously, he's a big hole to fill, but nobody's going to do that overnight. It takes a team effort, and I thought we did a good job of that. He means everything. He's a workhorse. He's a dog in a bone on the puck there, and that just means for the rest of the Edmonton Oilers, like I said, it's a next man up type situation. You got to get a lot more out of everybody that's on the ice there. Expect more out of like Trent Frederick, Evander Kane, Kasperi Kapanen, Vasily Podkolzin, and all of those hard-nosed, grindy, power forward type of guys. You got to step up in his place, and not just the power forward type of guys, but the guys that have been putting points up on the board there. Most notably, a guy who's stepped up since the start of this series with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, now 4th in playoff scoring there. I mean, you can see all the different types of Oilers in this playoff leader, or playoff stats leader, I should say. Connor McDavid with 24, Leon Draisaitl 23, Nuge with 18, Evan Bouchard is up there for 17th. I mean, if he continues this pace, who knows? He might get, Conn Smythe votes. Who knows? Not me, that's for sure, but Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is definitely a guy that has to continue this pace there. I mean, in every single game in this series, multi-points. So hopefully the Nuge can remain huge in that regard. But again, just nothing but heartbreak and sadness with no Zach Hyman there. Number 18, a guy that you just cannot replace. But that is it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you've been enjoying these videos as much as you've been enjoying the Oilers Cup run in general there. So appreciate the love, appreciate the support, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe here to the channel. And my main question for you in the comments is, with no Zach Hyman, what kind of lineup would you run? Lots of opportunities, lots of situations you can roll out there with Kris Knoblauch. It's always a never-ending chess match with him, but very curious to see what you all have to say in the comments. But that is it for today's video, folks. It's a nice day out, or where I am anyways. It's a very nice day, so enjoy the summer weather, or the onset of the summer weather. Take care, have a great day. I'm Matt.